President Joe Biden is looking to reassert America's presence in world matters such as climate change. And that's why he's traveling around the world, even as midterm elections are underway and fiercely contested in the U.S. And that's why we too, on Village Square Africa today, would want to discuss the implications of the midterm election results on Africans and Africans in the diaspora. Hello there. My name is Kemini Amanor, and this is Village Square Africa. At President Biden's debut international summit last year, he assured other world leaders using the quote, "America is back." It was a profound reassurance the world needed, mainly because some world leaders alleged that his predecessor, Donald Trump, had pulled the U.S. out of a worrying number of global treaties, including the Paris Climate Agreement and UN Human Rights Council. The baffling action had its own implication for world politics. So a Democrat at the helm of affairs is an understandably huge sigh of relief. Now, many Republicans, just like Trump, believe America's business should be putting America first, or as insinuated, America only. So it's important to understand this transcends the White House, the Senate, the House, and even governorship. All that could have implications on foreign policy, a subject that is not high up the list of important voter issues in the U.S. With the midterm elections underway, we ask, what are the foreign policy implications or significance for Africans in the U.S. and the continent as a whole? We will also take a keen interest in the contenders of African heritage who picked up legislative seats as well. Thank you so much for choosing Village Square Africa. I'm Kemini Amanor. Let's now meet our guests. First is Global Affairs Analyst Ejike Okpa and Chartered Accountant and Public Policy Analyst Alesta Wilcox. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program. I'll start with you. Yes. So President Joe Biden said before he left, the country that the red wave didn't happen as predicted before the midterm elections. What are your readings into how things are turning out in the U.S. so far, Ejike?
I thank you for having me, and congratulations as the host of of this program. I've always enjoyed it. Well, a win is a win, whether it's a wave or just a slide, over. I think the important thing is that the Republicans are going to have control of the House, which is where really a lot of things get happening. And then for the Senate, the Senate is only important when it comes to foreign relations. But when it comes to American economy, what policies is going to, improve the economy, it is basically done in the House, the ways and means. So the Republicans are going to be in charge of all the relevant committees in the House. These things is like, good weather, bad weather. That's what politics is. It depends on who is actually, commander-in-chief.
Very well. Alesta, I'll come back to you, Ejike. Alesta, tell us what you think the results we are staring at since the last 2 days tell us about voter behavior right now in the U.S. Alesta, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I think I'm better now. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Let me also congratulate all those elected, especially the Democrats, because it was looking as if from predictions that there's going to be the wave, a red wave through the length and breadth of America, with Donald Trump pulling his weight here up and down. But that didn't happen like President Biden said. It didn't happen because, despite the fact that they lost a lot of seats and lost control of the House, they still maintain a significant presence and proportion within the system. And so that for me is a cheering news, because we know that the Democrats are more prone to minorities. They have more reflection and more sensibility about minorities, talking about African Americans, the Latinos, and others, which is totally different from the Republicans. The Republicans are strictly interested in what happens within the Conference of America and not giving much of attention to other minorities or to other parts of the world. But Democrats seems to be more lenient to those areas. And that's why it's not surprising that we have about 8 Nigerian nationals. I'm sure other nationals also will have won legislative seats and elections in various. I don't know how the party. I try to find out the party leaning, but I want to believe sincerely that most of them will belong to the Democrats.
And you're right. I'll have us talk. You're right. I'll have us talk about the Nigerian American contenders in a moment, and we'll also discuss the nuances of the outcome of the elections. But first, I want us to look at what is staring us in the face, that what could be a bipartisan government in the U.S. and the implication for foreign policy, particularly African foreign policy. Ejike.
Look, the gentleman who talked, I'm a Republican, okay? He doesn't live in the U.S. He's never been to a district, covered or represented by Democrats. So we can go into that. I don't think that's relevant on the show. The point is America is a country where, when you choose your party and you believe in it, make it work for you. There are no angels in politics. It's basically angles. It's very unfortunate that, people think, the Republican Party is against minority. That's not true. If you read the history, after all, in fact, in Texas, I live in Texas, it was the black folks who started, the Republican Party. When Lincoln was assassinated, majority of those people actually were Republicans. And, the first set of black people elected in Congress were Republicans. So let's not just get into some of these things that most people who don't live in this system, tend to think about. America, the Republican Party is basically said, don't come to America illegally. And I don't think that anybody will want their country to be violated because of whatever is going on in another country. I came to America legally. I ran for mayor. I'm the first native African to run for mayor of a major city in America in less than 8 years of becoming a citizen. Nobody has ever held me back because of my political persuasion. I've been self-employed. In less than 4 years, I came to America, the first African to be certified as a general president in the state of Texas. So the point is, when we tend to lean on parties, what they do, what they don't do. The parties are not going to do anything for you until you decide to do something for yourself. That's the American way. The political parties may tend to say, oh, we're going to do this for you. I left Nigeria because the government is bad. So I wouldn't come back and join in a party where the government is telling me, this is the school you live, or every issue that is against you is because of the government. No, if you get fat, look at yourself. Don't blame the grocery store. If you don't get a job, look at your performance. Don't blame the employer. So, the Republican Party is about self-actualization and responsibility, less government. Do it. That's what America is all about. But as to the implication, I think Nigerian African countries waste a lot of time looking at what is going on in America. At the end of the day, you are a country, you have to look at your internal issues and you got to cultivate, relationships that are significant for you. Look at Buhari going to meet the king. Okay, what did you ask the king? There are a lot of Nigerian money sitting in British banks. There are a lot of Nigerian people who have stolen money from Nigeria. Did Buhari say, hey, Mr. King, can we release this? Or can you even come up with a policy? The king has no policy to push for because that's not his role. But make the ask. Can you let us stabilize the Nigerian, the naira and the pound exchange rate? He doesn't. He's just more of this go visit and shake hand and at the end of the day, Nigeria is struggling. You talked about electricity. Electricity existed in Nigeria 64 years before independence.
But essentially, Ejike, Ejike, let me just draw you back into the conversation. When you look at America's position in the world, it's difficult to have a conversation about Africa as a continent without drawing in the influence of the U.S. And that's why I'm hoping that we can try to figure out.
No, but the way you do it, you go for relationship. You find the Nigerians who live in this country,
and that's what I'm coming to. Hold on, Ejike. Let me make my point. That's what I'm coming to. That America, the last 2 decades, yes, they have been interested in human rights on the continent, in security on the continent. However, the United States has failed to look at the continent for its economic value, for its trade value. What exactly could a Biden administration or even a bipartisan government, as is staring us in the face, do about this situation to level up with the African people?
Well, I mean, what's the, again, in America, we have civil rights issues. We have people that are, getting killed by, by the police. We get people killed by themselves. So before you go asking America to do for you, you have to look at also the challenges America has. Yes, they may come in there and say, oh, we're going to help you with civil rights. I mean, we have people that, get locked up, and then after a few years, we found out that they shouldn't have been. Is there any other country telling America to do that? What I'm saying is that America is available for you to copy and paste, but do you have the will? You have to copy and paste the things that are relevant to your own country. Nigeria shouldn't sit there and wait for another country to come and tell them what to do. You look at your citizens, you look at the need. If you're not paying people salary, if your governors are taking your money, if your president seeking medical treatment abroad while the local hospitals are falling apart, it has nothing to do with America. It has to be for the Nigerians to step up and begin to say, hey, we are a sovereign nation, and this is what we want from you, Mr. Leader or Mr. President. Instead, they're not doing it. All they're doing is running around, going to the World Bank, going to UN. I mean, I live in America. Mm-hmm. World Bank has no relevance in what we do in this country. UN has no relevance. Okay, look at the war in Russia and in Ukraine. What is the UN saying? But look at the wars going on in Africa. They come over there to tell you, neighbors are fighting. Look yourself in the eyes and say, who are we killing? Like the Boko Haram. Who are you killing? You're not killing white people. You're killing Nigerians. And is that relevant? What is Buhari doing? He's a general. Under his leadership, coming on 8 years, he's a failure. He hasn't used any military tactics to have an advantage. The naira is losing value. There's so much insecurity in the country. And every little opportunity he gets, he jumps abroad to go shake hands. That's not what Nigerians need.
Let me quickly pick. Let me quickly pick Alesta's thoughts. Alesta, you've been intensely listening to Ejike and I on the issue of what the bipartisan government portends for the African continent. Let us in on your thoughts.
I want to salute Mr. Ejike for living in the U.S. I'm proud I live in Nigeria, and I'm proud of living in Nigeria all my life, and I'm proud and I'll remain living in Nigeria and contribute the utmost best I can for Nigeria. And I appreciate Mr. Ejike living in the U.S. and understanding the U.S. system. Well, I may not live in the U.S., but I have extensive interest in world affairs, and I read very wide in understanding the happenings around the world. And that's why I pride myself as a commentator on both national and international affairs. So I'm not doubting or disagreeing with what Mr. Ejike is saying. He's right in his own term, but I think linking the discussion to Buhari and to Nigeria, I think that's quite uncharitable, because it's like most of those that live abroad, at every turn or every opportunity, they want to lambaste the country and lambaste the leadership. I think the discussion here is about Africa and about what is happening in the U.S. We all know what happened in the last 4 years before Biden came to power. We all know how the Republican under Donald Trump decided to turn the entire Africa, call it a shithole, destabilize, ridiculed Africa. Look, U.S. pride, the American system prides itself by the diversity of people that are there, because most of the people that contribute to the system are not called Caucasians, are called white Americans. And that's why Mr. Ejike could be in the U.S. and be able to contribute his own best to the growth of that country. But we saw a Donald Trump who came and almost destabilized the entire world system. And his target was Africa. I'm never sure he visited Africa for once. And look, let's get something clear. U.S. has the powers. I mean, it's a world power, it's a world superpower. And every other, not just Africa, so many other countries look up to US for leadership, for economic reasons, for political reasons, for military might, and all other issues. That cannot be taken away from the United States of America. And so, when the United States of America is seen as the world policeman in every ramification, no matter what Russia is doing today, no matter what China is doing, it still cannot match the strength at any point in time of the US. So US determines a lot of geopolitical reasonings and geopolitical economic. So Africa will not be out of place to look up to what's happening in the US. Look, Trump decided to show the flank of the core Republican establishment. Yes, I may not live in the US to have known who and who were members of the Republican Party, but we saw it in Trump. And of course, by the time Biden came in, there was a relief all over the world, including Africa, because this is a party, the Democratic Party, is the party that has a sympathy and respect for other nationals, for other minorities.
So, Alesta, here's my follow-up question to you. That despite all that Trump had said, and we had seen during his tenure, his African policies continued. We know that the Congress-backed Progress Africa program continued. It actually began under the Trump administration. So you'd say that, well, it was just a hothead leader, but really there was still some U.S. relations in the background. Alesta.
Look, the U.S. establishment is so strong. The U.S. establishment is very strong to the fact that, yes, leaders might have their own ideologies, but of course, the system is also having a way of bringing leaders to continue with either good policies or some other policies. But of course, Trump begins to have that those policies came in after his first 2 years. Remember, his first 2 years, the Republicans control both houses of Parliament of the Assembly, both Senate and the House. But in the second half term, the midterm election, the House changed. And when Nancy Pelosi came back to become the Speaker of the House, so that was happening under Trump. And of course, at that point, the policies begin to change, the legislation begin to change a little bit. And so to favor some of those things that Trump was totally against. I don't have any beef against Trump. I don't live in America, and I don't know what goes on there. But from what I have studied and I've read, and I'm telling you this.
Very well.
As it is now, yes, there's going to be a bipartisan arrangement because it happened under Clinton. Bill Clinton had one of the most challenging times with the House and with the Senate. At the point, the two houses were controlled by the Republicans. But yet, Bill Clinton had some of the best policies of Africa. Had some of the best, in fact, better than Obama.
Very well. I'm going to bring in Ejike at this point.
We discovered that people will still know where they belong to when the chips are down.
Very well. Now, Ejike, I know you were responding to the question I asked earlier. So quickly, let's do this and then wrap it up on the Trump-Biden, comparison.
Look, Alesta, I applaud you for what you read, but you don't live in America. You don't even know the difference how the governors, the Senate, the House, a lot of local things, you have no clue on that. But let me even address specific issues you talk about Trump. Trump was the first American president to promote agenda, what they call transformative agenda for Africa. He was the first president to extend the Exim Bank lending capacity to $275 billion. I was the first Native African appointed to serve on the Sub-Saharan Advisory Committee in 2019, and I just got off after 3 years. I was renewed by Biden. So you're talking about presidents who have done it. When was Gaddafi killed? The guy who was promoting United Africa, he was killed under Obama. When did the Rwanda genocide 1994 happened? It happened under Clinton. So
gentlemen, here's what I'm going to say. That we will shelve the Trump-Biden comparison for now. Should Trump run in 2024? We'll pick up this conversation again. So right now, let's talk about the Africans or the Americans with African heritage who picked up legislative seats in the U.S. There are about eight of them. My question, and I'll start with you, Ejike, since you live in the U.S. What is the significance, rather, of this win for Africans in the diaspora, particularly in the communities where they won?
It's a good move, but historically, the first Nigerian came to America that was recorded to have entered America was in 1918, 4 years after amalgamation, a man from Calabar. So Nigerians have had continuous presence of more than a century, 100 years and a four. So seeing Nigerians showing up now in legislative, this is just, state. And again, states laws are state laws. They don't have any national implication. It's basically for their state. It's commendable. But let me even say, we have had 2 Indian-born Americans who have become governors. Nigerians are now beginning to wake up. In fact, American politics is heaviest at the local level. The city council, your county commissioners, your school boards, that's where the impact is. So when you have people who get elected into legislative hubs, it is good, but they are removed from local issues. So the point is, since Nigerians have been present in America for 104 years, given historical things that cannot be disputed, it is time for them to begin to engage in their local community. We have these things about America that say every politics is local. Until you are in that local level, in fact, Congress and all this is just for the glamorous role of their position. Most Americans are concerned about who is their council member, who is their school board member, who serves in their independent school district, because our school districts are now run by state. So what I want to say is that it's good to celebrate what Nigerians are doing outside. I'm always saying those are the ones who got away. Okay, look at the 200 million Nigerians who on a daily basis are subjected to things that oftentimes they have control over, or oftentimes they don't have control over. 36 plus 1 men in Nigeria are the ones that are ruining it. Dapo Alesta can say something else about, Nigeria is this. Look, anywhere you live is by choice. You look at the Naira. In 1999, when Obasanjo took over, if you had 1 million Naira, you had an equivalent value of $11,000 or $12,000. 22 years or 3 after democracy, if democracy is a panacea for economic development, if you have 1 million Naira today, you have less than $2,000. Is anybody, he's an accountant. He said, if you're an accountant, you have to account for somebody's investment. How are you going to justify that devaluation when you have had a democracy? Why during the military the Naira was stronger?
Ejike, I take it as you're not particularly enthused by the congratulatory messages that have come from President Buhari to the Nigerian Americans who won seats, are you?
Look, what I'm saying is that, like my wife always asks me, what has that got to do with the price of bread? You go all over, just like when Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala became Secretary General or whatever of World Trade Organizations, Nigerians were on the street in the bar celebrating. That is good, but how much trade has Nigeria done because of that? I'm just saying those things are good. Hey, congratulations, blah, blah, blah. Focus on your country. The Nigerians that are outside of Nigeria have gotten their way. They have nothing to do for the country except if you go recruiting them or wooing them. But they're here. They're not coming back there. They're not coming back to Nigeria, and they're not going to be pushing policies that will benefit Nigeria because their roles are not that.
Very well. Alesta, how about policies that will, affect the African communities in the diaspora, again, within their own communities? Do you see these African winners bringing African specific issues in their communities to the fore?
You give Mr. Ejike too many minutes of this program, and I will not talk to him about economics on the value of Naira. I'm sure before he left the country, I don't know the year he left, as at the time he was living in the 80s, he knew what the exchange rate was, and he knew what the population was, and he knew what the consumption pattern of Nigeria was, and he knows the problems that the country faces, which first of them those of them in diaspora are part of the contributors to the problems. So I will not go there.
How so? When you say the diaspora is part of the problem?
Yeah. That's another discussion, because Mr. Ejike is good at running down the country, running down the president, but I won't go there. I won't go there with him. Anyway, the truth of the matter is this: whatever Nigerians.
Alesta, did I lose you? We have lost Alesta, and I hope he comes back, so I pick his thoughts on a couple more issues, including what he was talking about. But Ejike, you're still here with me. So, like I was asking, do you see Africans in diaspora issues coming to the fore, like in Georgia and in Pennsylvania?
Look, like I said, it's a good stride, it's a successful move, but we got to look at things that benefit Nigeria. If that is where Nigerians are getting excited, how does my role serving on the Texas Securities Board benefit Nigeria? Apart from the fact, okay, he's a Nigerian, he did it, and saying what? Am I sitting on that board and I'm going to talk about issues facing Nigeria? So
I think Alesta is back. Let's try Alesta again. Alesta, can you hear me? Well, Alesta isn't back. So, well, Alesta, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. I think I was hearing you.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, like I'm saying, I said today in the UK, we've had four notable Nigerians that have held responsible positions in the parliament. As a matter of fact, Kemi was almost contesting to be the prime minister of the UK. So Nigerians have made waves all over the world, in Ireland and other places. So making waves in the US, where, according to Mr. Ejike, they've been there for over 100 years. It's something that is worthwhile, that we should all encourage. I'm not applauding it, because it is their personal responsibilities. Anyhow, anybody is able to work his way through the system, because the American system gives you opportunity to explore and to make the best out of the system. So I want to congratulate them. I don't think it has anything to do with policies about Nigeria, because at the level they are serving, well, they may have contribution, they may have things to say if they are passionate about Nigeria, when the issue of Nigeria is on the table or comes to their purview. If they are passionate about Nigeria and they wish their country well, yeah, they might have things to put in. But a lot of people goes there, even though they're in government, they find themselves in office, they use it to demarket their country. They use it to rubbish their country. For me, there are a lot of people who do that, and I don't think that is patriotism in any way. Yes, you might be in America, you might be in the US, you might be in the UK, you might be making waves there, but that does not diminish the fact that you have a base. And that base, you must do everything to promote it, not to knock it down, which most of them in the diaspora do, and in that sense, begin to stir off a disaffection back home, rather than present the fact as they are supposed to be presented. Those of us who are home, we are not regretting being at home. We have a opportunity to go out, but we choose to be at home to contribute to the country, and we love this country, and so we'll defend this country. Well, those of them who are abroad, who want to defend the country, they are free to. If you have a political position and you love your country and you're passionate about your country, I want to defend the country, please use it to defend your country. Rather than at every turn, you want to delegate the president, the problems, you want to talk about the naira. Mm-hmm. Come on, that is uncharitable.
But I think the question that Ejike is asking is really, how would those people do anything that would affect you here in Nigeria or anywhere on the continent? Have you given that a thought?
Well, within the confines of whatever rules they are playing. Look, when Obama was president, he didn't have anything special for Kenya. The system will not. It's not like in Nigeria where you can give favors to your families and friends anyhow. You work with the system, whatever system the American system, whatever role the American system presents to you, that's what you work on. You are not supposed to. That's what I say. When issues that concerns Nigeria or their content comes up, and you are passionate about it, and it has and it works within the confines of your responsibility, why not? Why not? We're only celebrating it here because we are happy that our brothers and sisters abroad are elected into government. That is just a product of celebration. I don't think it will translate to anything outside the American dream, outside the American vision, outside the American plan for the country. I don't think it will have any significant transition if I want to use that word, with respect to what's happening here, it's individual achievement. And if issues that borders on Nigeria comes to their table and they're passionate about it, I think they have a right or they have a responsibility to dispatch it within the American context.
Ejike, I believe I saw a smirk on your face earlier. You want to share your thoughts with us?
Well, I mean, if Alexa is going to say, not talking about the Naira, I wonder the kind of accounting he does or understanding of economic development or economy. Well, I left Nigeria after youth service. I wasn't in Nigeria who left when I was young. I did my youth service. I was an estate surveyor in Port Harcourt before I left. So if you want to talk about the economy, when I came to America, my father's affidavit of financial support that enabled me to get visa. The Naira he declared was almost $2 million equivalent at the time. The ticket I bought to leave Nigeria for America was 698 Naira 50 kobo. Okay, today I don't even know whether that money can buy you, a bottle of beer. But here is what Alexa does not understand about American economy. Okay, in 1987 when I came here, I paid 698 Naira 50 kobo. The equivalent value of that money was almost $1,200. Okay, today I can still come to Nigeria for the same 1,200, but you cannot do it with Nigeria.
Very well.
People are celebrating Nigerians who have gone away, who are in Canada, in Ireland, who probably will never come back. I'm just saying it is a misplaced excitement. It's a misplaced happiness. Look at what is going. When you wake up every day, you don't wake up in America. You wake up in Ajegunle or Lekki or Aba or Enugu, and you're dealing with either your state assembly person or your president or your governor who has hijacked the entire system and is suppressing you, and you're not doing anything about it. You're looking for America for solution. You're looking for World Bank to show up. You're looking for UN to pass a resolution. Do something for your house. If your house is under fire, why are you concerned about your neighbors? So that is what I'm talking about.
Very well.
Nigerians to pay attention.
So, gentlemen, I've got to say that I wasn't looking at the conversation turning out the way it did.
No, but that's a conversation to correct his impressions, because obviously he says he reads books, and I'm saying.
But I do want to say that we've had a good one. No, hold on, gentlemen. No.
I'm from River State. I grew up in
No, Alesta, hold on for me. Both of you should hold on. This is what I'm saying. I want us to close our conversation today, our discussion today, in such a way that we wouldn't have created an inspiration for what is called here in Nigeria, Jakpa. We would have had a conversation about, African policy from the U.S. perspective going forward. And so let's spend the last 4 minutes on it. And Alesta, I'll come to you. What are your expectations?
Look, the African...
Alesta first.
Well, I don't expect anything significantly different. The U.S. has strategic interest in Africa, and of course, they will still pursue their strategic interest. Wherever they have strategic interest, they will pursue it to the fullest. Now, if in the course of pursuing their strategic interest, you benefit economically, all well and good. But the first important thing is their strategic interest. And so the U.S. will not compromise their strategic interest for your own national interest. I agree with Mr. Ejike. We must learn to build our country. And that's why I'm in Nigeria. I have visited the U.S. a few times, but I'm in Nigeria. I have learned, I'm an accountant, I'm proud to be what I am, and Nigeria made me what I am today. Mr. Ejike, I'm sure if he schooled in Nigeria in the university days, he paid no school fees. And so that is a plus. But a lot of us, by the time we get what Nigeria has given us, we go out there, we rubbish Nigeria. US will not build Nigeria for us. We Nigerians must build Nigeria. And those of us in the diaspora must contribute to build Nigeria positively. And educate those who are jackbarring today, those jackbar people, because they get the wrong vibes from those in the diaspora. They think that it is gold, milk, and honey flowing. And then that is the wrong person they give them. And then so they jackbar.
Indeed. So
the diaspora has a responsibility to educate those of us at home that, look, this is how things are. We must build our nation.
Very well. Let's give the last 2 minutes to Ejike. good day for America, Biden says. Good day for African policy as well. Ejike.
Well, look, American politics is not about the president. We're a resilient nation. The president doesn't run this country. The president, the advantage he has of his office, and then, the bullpen, announcement, the media, the prestige that comes with that office. But at the end of the day, we got to look at how is the economy doing. Under Trump, go look at it. The economy was, it was bullish. It was doing well. But again, everything that goes up is got to come down. There are no blames to be apportioned, but because the Americans understand their country. At the end of the day, when policies are hitting their pockets, that's when you're going to see them do what? Wake up. Are they happy with inflation? Are they happy with policies that we can't even produce oil that we have in the country, which is, Saudi Arabia and Venezuela, to see if we can buy oil when we can produce it. America is the largest oil producer in the world. And during Trump, we were beginning to become independent in that resource. But again, it's going to shift because, again, Americans, even what is going on in Mexico sometimes, except when the border issues come up, they don't care. Canada, the same thing. It's just people outside that think, America needs to do this. If you really want to get access in America,
Indeed.
you have to find people who knows how to help you access what is available through policies. This country is run on policies. It doesn't run because your own person is a president or your own person is a mayor. It's policies.
Ejike, I thank you very much for that last comment. Gentlemen, I've got to say that this afternoon we've shot the temperature right up. I appreciate your company. Ejike Okpa is a global affairs analyst based in the U.S. And we also had Alesta Wilcox. Alesta is a chartered accountant, and he's also a public policy analyst. Thank you so much. Hopefully we meet again on other subjects.
Based in Lagos.
Based in Lagos, Nigeria. And
that has no water system, no sewer system. Yeah, that's how good Lagos is.
I'm grateful for your time, for watching us this afternoon. Remember that Village Square Africa comes your way 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Mondays through Thursdays here on New Central TV. I am Kemini Amanor. Have a good day.